13 teams to go in my road to predict all 131 teams this college football offseason. We are moving on to the Northern Illinois Huskies, a team that won the Mid-American Conference a season ago. And they're going to look to try to do it again in 2022, and they very well have the capabilities to do it. This is one of the top teams in returning production coming into next year. They very well could. You can make the argument for they have the best quarterback in the conference. A lot of things are going right for the Huskies right now. However, there are a couple solid pieces they lose off the offense and defensive side, including one very, very big name that entered the transfer portal. So, will Northern Illinois be able to repeat as conference champions back in 2022? Or is this going to be a team that maybe struggles their way through this season and misses out on the chance to repeat? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate, and welcome to my channel. I'm predicting all 131 teams this college football offseason, which means I'm doing your favorite team, and chances are I've already done them. Go through my channel, hit the subscribe button. I got playlists you can go search through, and if you still can't find your favorite team, hey, no worries. Come back, along with hitting the subscribe button, ring the bell. It'll notify you when your favorite team gets uploaded. I only got a handful of these left. But hey, if you are a fan of the Northern Illinois Huskies out there, you guys are going to know this team a lot more than I do. So if you feel like I missed something, you want to add something, whatever have you, please leave it in the comment section down below. I would be happy to hear what you guys have to say. Let's talk about the Huskies in 2022. I don't know what's going on with my green screen, guys. Sorry, I apologize. But this is my second-ranked team in the Mid-American Conference coming into the 2022 college football season. Last year, they were 9-5 overall, played 14 games last year, 7-2 in conference, including the win in the conference championship game that got them, of course, that conference title. And then overall, when you take a step back and look at Northern Illinois' season last year, I mean, this was just a good football team a season ago. Did end up losing that bowl game, but was still a good football team. 422 yards per game with around 31.5 points per game. So this was one of the better offenses in the Mid-American Conference, but where this team had some trouble last year was defense, right? 447 yards per game allowed was the third worst mark in the conference, and they also had the third worst mark in terms of allowing the most points per game, allowed 32.7 points per game. So this is definitely a defense that needs its improvement, but an offense that should yet again be really good here in 2022. However, this offense is losing one of their bigger parts, and that is the running back Javion Ducker, J Ducker for short. Had 1,184 yards and 3 touchdowns for this team a season ago. Now, that is no small feat at a program like Northern Illinois, and you're losing some other guys out of that running back room like Clint Ratkovich, who was more of a fullback type player, did have 461 yards and 13 touchdowns for this team last year, and then Eric Collins is gone there as well. So along with Ducker, Ratkovich, a big loss on this run game. I believe Ducker transferred over to Memphis, while Ratkovich, I believe, went pro, although could be wrong about that. Also losing Collins, a depth piece there as well. This is a running back room that's going to have to find guys to step up and make some plays for them this year. But they have a couple guys back there, and we'll talk about them in a little bit. In the wide receiver room, you lose Tyrese Ritchie, who had 540 yards and a touchdown last year. So you're losing your third leading receiver from last year. So a pretty solid piece still gone out of that wide receiver room. Now, defensively, I could not find a lot of losses for this team. Plain, simple, and a story. Their biggest loss on defense, though, by far, is Lance DeVoe. He had 74 tackles, which was second on the team, and a sack and a half a season ago. That's by far their biggest loss. Otherwise, you can look to Dylan Thomas as a pretty substantial loss. He had 59 tackles with 2 sacks and a pick a season ago. Otherwise, just some depth guys, and Luis Fry and Miles McGee at the defensive back position are going to be gone off this team. Now, looking at what they have coming back, hey, you could very well make the case that this team has the best quarterback in the Mid-American Conference in Rocky Lombardi. The former Michigan State transfer coming over to Northern Illinois had a really good season for the Huskies last year. 2,597 yards. No, that's not going to jump off the board at you. Did have 15 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. That's not going to jump off the board at you. 58% completion percentage. That's not going to jump off the board at you. But Rocky Lombardi did what he had to do, right? He did what he had to do and was very, very effective for this Northern Illinois team. When you look at the running back side of things, Harrison Whaley and Ontario Brown probably going to figure to be that 1-2 at the running back position. They were your second and third leading rushers, respectively, last year. Both of them around 500 yards and around the 4 or 5 touchdown mark. Whaley had 4 touchdowns. Brown had 5. Also, Rocky Lombardi was a very, very effective scrambler. Averaged 5 yards per carry, had 94 attempts, 472 yards, and 9 touchdowns did Rocky Lombardi on the ground. So he can do them both. He can throw the ball and he can run the ball. That's what makes Rocky Lombardi so tough to defend for Mid-American defenses. Otherwise, Trayvon Rudolph, a wide receiver who did have 113 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown last year, also was their leading receiver, 892 yards and 7 touchdowns for this team last year. Cole Tucker comes back, was the second leading receiver. He had 3 touchdown catches. Messiah Travis had 165 yards. Mohamed Toure coming back on this team as well. Shamar Thornton is a really good playmaker coming over from FIU. And then Miles Joyner is a tight end that returns on this team. Defensively, like I said before, they do have a lot of talent back. And while losing DeVoe and Thomas is going to hurt, still a lot of solid players in every level of this defense. Starting with the defensive line, Devontae O'Malley is coming back on this team. Had 4 sacks last year, which I believe led the team. This was not a team that generated a ton of sacks, but got back there when they needed to. Devontae O'Malley returning for this team, as well as Rashean Thomas returning for this team there as well on the defensive line. Had 48 tackles a season ago. In the linebacker group, Nick Ratton, DeVaron Rayner, a couple names that you're going to see in the linebacking group. Ratton had 70 tackles last year. That was third on the team. Rayner, 30 tackles last year there for them. Otherwise, when you look at the defensive back position, well, hey, C.J. Brown, Jordan Gandy, Jaden Dolphin is back there as well, although he can play some linebacker for you there as well. So Jordan Gandy had 10 passes defended last year. C.J. Brown, 107 tackles. And his only pick last year went for a pick 6. This is going to be, in my opinion, an improved defensive side, even though with the loss to DeVoe, Thomas, not really a whole lot of other talent besides that leaves this team. There's a lot of talent coming back, a lot of talent coming in. The offense should still be really good, even with the losses of Javion Ducker and Tyrese Ritchie. This is going to be a good football team and can absolutely push for yet another Mid-American title. As we take a look at the schedule, it starts off simple enough in non-conference play, a home game against Eastern Illinois that they should be able to win there. But then the road gets tricky. You got to go on the road to play Tulsa, a team that I think is going to be very competitive in the American Athletic this year. And while I don't necessarily think that's a bowl game team yet, they're definitely hovering right around that mark. You get Vanderbilt at home. Hey, one of the worst teams in the Power 5. They've had a couple good recruiting cycles, but Vanderbilt nowhere near a college football powerhouse. Your toughest non-conference state, though, is going to be on the road against Kentucky, the second MAC team that plays Kentucky, and the second MAC team that may very well end up losing to the Wildcats this season. When you look at conference play, you have road games against Ball State, Eastern Michigan, Ohio, and Western Michigan, and then games at home against Toledo, Central Michigan, Miami of Ohio, and Akron to close out the year. So kind of doing a little bit more of a deep dive into the schedule. I mean, their non-conference slate, there are some tough games here. I mean, of course, Vanderbilt, being a Power 5 team, is going to have, you would assume, the talent edge. Although this is a very, very talented Huskies team. Vanderbilt has not been a good team for the past decade, half decade, somewhere near that mark. Vanderbilt has had a couple good recruiting cycles, so if the talent can step up for Vanderbilt, I think they can have a good year. But Northern Illinois, I'm going to favor the Huskies against Vandy here, but I'm going to be favoring the Golden Hurricane against the Huskies when Northern Illinois goes to play Tulsa. I am going to favor Tulsa in that game. I do like what Tulsa has. They're bringing Davis Brin back at quarterback, and all the while I think they might struggle in American athletic play, I do think Tulsa is more than capable of pulling off a win against Northern Illinois and Kentucky. That's just going to be a hard game for them to win. I don't think that Northern Illinois is going to be able to do much against Will Levis and Kentucky. In conference play, well, there are a lot of games that they should win. Akron, hey, you should be able to win that game. Ohio, Ball State, maybe even the likes of Eastern Michigan and Western Michigan, although those games being on the road are going to be some tougher games for Northern Illinois. Otherwise, when you look, hey, you have 3 really, really big home games. But that's the thing. They are home games. Toledo is returning DeQuan Finn at the quarterback position. And while they're losing a lot of players on the skill corps, they do have some transfers coming in, especially defensively. That's going to be a very, very good defensive team. Will the Toledo Rockets be? Otherwise, Central Michigan may very well be the most talented team in the Mid-American Conference. And then you have the home game against Miami of Ohio there as well, which we could see as a conference championship rematch right there. But the game that probably will end up deciding who makes the conference championship game, or that very well could end up deciding who makes the conference championship game, is that game against CMU, Central Michigan. They have Lou Nichols back there, who's one of the best running backs in the nation and was amazing for the Chippewas last year. I don't do game-by-game predictions. I do a more percentage-based outlook. Tell me predict the team's record. So if the game's in red, I just don't see you winning the game. Case in point, Kentucky. I don't think they're going to have much luck on the road against a Wildcats team that is capable of winning double-digit games this year. Orange, well, you're still probably not going to win the game, but it is college football, and upsets can happen. Yellow are your 50-50 or high upset potential games in yellow-green. Games that you should win, but hey, you got to watch out for teams on the other side of the ball in games in green. I do have you winning. So Eastern Illinois should be able to win that one week one. Very, very simple. Otherwise, when you get into conference play, Ball State, Ohio, even though both those games are on the road, I think they're going to present their respective challenges for this Northern Illinois team. But at the end of the day, I do expect Northern Illinois to come out of those games with the win. Same thing with Western Michigan. Western Michigan, I think, is towards that bowl game line, whether they make it, whether they not. I think that's a big up-in-the-air debate for Western Michigan, and non-conference play could very well decide whether they make a bowl game or not. But that's a Western Michigan team that has to replace a lot. Caleb Ellaby, Sky Moore, some other pieces leaving that team on defense there as well. I think Northern Illinois, even though the game's on the road, I think that's going to be their trickiest road game that's going to be their trickiest road game in yellow-green, but should be able to win there. And then Akron at home to close out the year should be a gimme win at the end of the season. When you look elsewhere, though, I mean, games in yellow, there are a lot of them. Tulsa, as I said, I'm leaning the way of the Golden Hurricane. Would it surprise me if Northern Illinois won this game? No, not in the slightest. I think that's as close to a 50-50 game as we're going to see this upcoming season. But Tulsa has the talent to match up with Northern Illinois, and it is really going to be Northern Illinois' first true test this upcoming season. Wouldn't surprise me to see them lose that game. However, I do think they may bounce back the next week and beat Vanderbilt. Any way you slice it, I think they split those two non-conference games, whether they beat Tulsa and lose to Vanderbilt, or you flip it the other way around, like I think is more likely to happen, where they lose on the road to Tulsa, but yet beat Vandy at home. Either way, any way you slice the schedule, though, I don't think they're going to be able to beat Kentucky on the road in Lexington. When you look in conference play, again, I've already said, the easy wins should be there. But there are a lot of challenging games. That road game against Eastern Michigan, watch out. Eastern Michigan, yeah, they're going to have to replace Ben Bryant, but there's still a lot of talent on the team. They're hovering right around that bowl game line there as well. Don't necessarily expect for them to compete for a conference title like Northern Illinois expects to, but could be a tricky game nonetheless. And then you have your three big games at home. Toledo, who is losing a lot in the skill corps, but that defense should still be very good. Central Michigan, who returns Richardson at quarterback, Nichols at running back. They have a lot of talent on defense there as well. And then Miami of Ohio, who, like Northern Illinois, you could very well make the case for them having the best quarterback in the conference in Brett Gabbert. Now, this is the Northern Illinois team that I fully expect to push for a conference title, but that defense needs work, and that's my concern for this Northern Illinois team. I don't know if they're going to be able to quite replicate what they were able to do last year offensively, especially with the losses of Ducker, with Ratkovich, with Ritchie. Defensively, I expect this team to improve. Offensively, I still think this is going to be a very good offense. However, I do think there will be some better offenses in the MAC this year. It's a Northern Illinois team that I fully expect to push towards a conference title. And you'll have to find out here later today whether I think they'll get there. But that's going to do it for my Northern Illinois preview. Please, guys, like, comment, subscribe. Anything like that does help support the channel. And remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. I'll see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.